QR code to subscribe, to watch, and listen to the podcast. The conversation tonight will be released through Mrs. and President Obama's production company, Higher Ground, on July 15th on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
That's right. For 8 years, the world watched Michelle Obama navigate the role of First Lady with grace and style, y'all. And in each occasion, not only did she slay, but she also sent something through every single thread of every single outfit. The First Lady's fashion was never just fashion, y'all. It was intention, identity, and in many ways, defiance of the status quo. It was resistance to the mainstream's beauty standards and those rules that determine who gets to take up space. In her recent release, the New York Times bestseller, The Look, I hope you go get it, Miss Obama tells the story of her fashion journey throughout those years, detailing her style evolution. And who better to help bring that story to the Essence Festival stage than the one and only Emmy Award-winning host, KeKe, y'all. Showing up exactly as she is in every space. New Orleans, help me welcome to the tonight for us. I'm so excited. I think I also have to tell them, even though I know it's still under wraps a little bit with Higher Ground, obviously your company, but we're working on a movie, y'all.
This is gonna be good.
I'm so excited, starring myself.
And Higher Ground, it's amazing. I'm so excited. I'm grateful that you're gonna be a part of that project, man.
Yes, I don't want to tell you guys too much, but it involves basketball and Aubrey Plaza, so you can imagine some comedy. So keep a lookout for that. We'll keep you guys posted. Black women, black people, culture, setting trends. What was so important about it for you to create this book to talk about how to own what we put out to the world?
Ooh, can everybody hear?
It is echoey. Is it okay for you
I
guys?
want to make sure these mics are working before we start talking. But why did I do the look? As we all know, how we show up in the world says a whole lot about sometimes how we're treated, what kind of respect we have, and during my 8 years as First Lady, I made it a point not to talk about fashion because I didn't want my 8 years to be just about the shoes I wore or the dress I was in. I wanted people to see who I was and what I was doing. And as a woman, a lot of times we are talking about how we look first before what we say.
Absolutely.
And so, but fashion was a big part of what I did. I mean, I made it a point to think really strategically about how I showed up. So the look is now my opportunity to share that journey because I do love fashion and I did make a point of thinking through strategically how I needed to show up in the world as the first Black First Lady. And so the look takes you on that journey.
I love that because the look is not only being defined by what you look like on the outside, but the agency you have and how you show up and how much that is allowed to define who you are. So there's many different levels to that. I want to, as we go down that journey of the
start at the top. Take me back to the south side of Chicago. You know, when we think about your personal style back then, when you were Michelle Robinson, you know, what was your look? How did you get up and get dressed? What did you think about fashion?
You know, girl, when I was growing up, my style was broke.
Okay.
It was just broke girl. You know, my style was a lot of no, right? Because Marion Robinson, my mother, she pitched a penny. You know, so she wasn't really into fashion. So I was one of those young girls who was always, I wish, you know, if I had the money, if I could, you know, if I really had full control over my own look, I could dream about what I wanted to wear. But we didn't grow up being able to afford much of anything. You know, we were shopping at Sears and Roebuck's, you know, or Animals. What was on sale?
I remember Sears Tower.
Oh my God, I was so sick of Sears growing up. But I grew up on the South Side with a ton of fashion. I mean,
Who were some of your inspirations?
they were all the girls in the neighborhood. You know, I mean, I was always looking up to that girl just older than me.
Yes.
You know, the little cutie that be sitting on the sidelines at my brother's basketball games.
Oh, yes.
I was like 10 years old and she was 13 or 14 coming in with her Gloria Vanderbilt jeans and her chains lady. You know, I knew what fashion and style was, but when I was young, we just couldn't afford it. I used to always want to wear a pair of white patent leather go-go boots.
Go-go boots.
Because I was watching like Get Christy Love,
Oh my gosh.
Foxy Brown. I mean, those fine black women in those little mini skirts and those boots that just zipped up.
I mean, and speaking of the look, I think that also feels like power. Now I think about those kinds of boots. I think about an afro. I think about a leather jacket with a little peplum to it.
Oh my God.
That makes me think about power.
Indeed, maybe that's what I was thinking. I was channeling some Get Christy Love.
Yes.
Shoot somebody up. But Marion Robinson wasn't having that. Okay, she was like, it wasn't practical to wear patent leather boots when there was 10 inches of snow. So I was stuck with my little rubber boots.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you see what is represented on television or in music, what's actually possible for us in our day-to-day life, especially when you think about people that are a minority. People might think, oh, the White House was your first experience dealing with big institutions, but obviously it's not. You were in college at Princeton and Harvard. Being in predominantly white spaces was something that you were very, well at navigating. But when you think about those early years of yourself in college, what role did fashion or your look play in when you first entered those spaces?
You know, I was probably more focused on the academics back then. I mean, I went to college broke. We were on financial aid. I was on work study. I had the clothes that I had, I came with my Levi's and my polo shirts and my Levi jeans jacket. I just didn't have the time or the money to focus too much on what I look like. And I think that's true for a lot of college kids. I mean, you're away from home for the first time. You're trying to figure out where to get your hair done in a white space. I mean, that was like a big deal going to a white school in a white neighborhood. It was like, where am I getting my hair done? I was more focused on that than I was what I was wearing. But my focus in college was trying to make sure I showed up and got those braids. So there were classmates of mine who came from more affluence, who came with the preppy look, and they had all the clothes, and some of these kids were black. But most of the black kids at Princeton when I was going, we were all just trying to get through. We weren't really focused on, we didn't have time to focus on our look.
I really, really relate to this, especially when I think about me in the early years coming up in the